Republican State Representative Justin Holland of Heath, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. As you know, both chambers the Republican majorities put out their budget proposals, and both really left billions of dollars on the table unspent because of spending caps. What's your thought about that?
Well, first of all, I think it's been great to see the big three, our speaker, lieutenant governor, and governor, be pretty aligned with how they want to spend the money this year. The biggest part of this budget is the money. It belongs to the taxpayers, and we're going to do our very, very best to make sure and spend that money as wisely as possible on giving money back to the taxpayers. That's the biggest thing. The takeaway that I have from these budgets is they're fairly similar in nature, and everybody seems to be rowing the boat in the same direction. I do believe that spending caps are important. I know that there's a lot of people, having served on appropriations, a lot of people would wish that we could spend all of it and a little bit more. But in Texas, we like to operate like you should operate a budget in a household and not spend all the money, and we have a nice rainy day fund and economic stabilization fund that's could be up to $20 billion. We have 32 billion plus available in surplus. And I think one of the biggest things that I hear as I talk to people is they are concerned about the runaway property taxes and the way that property taxes continue to increase. And I think that the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker have all in some way or another mentioned and made a commitment to buying down property taxes for Texans.
Both budgets have set aside $15 billion for property tax relief. Is that enough?
Well, it's certainly not enough to make probably the impact that everyone would like. It's a lot of money. It'll provide for some compression at the school district level. It will provide for an increase in the property tax homestead exemption. We've moved that twice in the past decade, and it'll go from 45 to 70 is what is being communicated to the legislature. That costs some money as well. With the spending caps, it just is what it is. We will spend a great portion available to us out of the $32 billion surplus that Controller Hager has given us and told us that we can spend on property taxes.
And I know some other items that were mentioned, about $600 million for school safety. What's your thought about that?
Well, I think it's wonderful. It's absolutely essential as a parent and a father of two daughters that are in public schools, that when parents drop their kids off at school every day, that they have an assurance that they're going to be safe when they're there. We can do better, and we will do better this session.
And I wanted to ask you, I also interviewed State Senator Royce West of Dallas, who agreed about the property tax relief. He agreed about border security operations with $4.6 billion being proposed. One thing he said he would like to see is expanding Medicaid. I know Republicans haven't gone for that. Do you see that changing at all?
That we get that question every time. I don't see an appetite for that in the House or the Senate. I do believe that health and human services and healthcare is important. It's a large ticket item, one of the top two items that we spend money on. We do want to make sure that our health and human services departments and the budgets are wisely used. I don't see an appetite for an expansion of Medicaid item, but we do have a number of items in the health and human services that we will be spending a bit of time and money on. But to answer your question, that might take a little bit more robust debate throughout the session.
And I did want to ask one other question, and I appreciate your time. And that is about proposed pay raises for state employees. I've talked to Republicans and Democrats who agree that is a big need.
Yeah, I think we're going to set aside about $2 billion to provide a 10% pay raise for over 115,000 state employees. It's important, and we just did this in the House with both the House and the Senate did this in our rules and housekeeping resolutions last week when we first started. Is we put we gave extra office budgets that I think will mean a lot to those folks. These people, we're the vehicles for the bills and making them get across the finish line. But our state employees are some of the hardest working people, and they work for very little, very long hours, a lot of time, and it's not cheap to live in Austin, Texas. And so many people they have roommates, or they have to live an hour away south or north of Austin. And so I'm very supportive of pay raises for state employees. They work hard and they deserve it.
Republican State Representative Justin Holland of Heath, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today.
You bet. Thanks, Jack.